Morning, everybody. Welcome to the April meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission. We're going to go ahead and call to order here at 8:06 a.m.
906.
I'm sorry, 9:06. I'm still on Central Time. Forgive me. It's a curse of being from Memphis. So we will go ahead and start with the public disclaimer and the roll call by Ms. Baker. Ms. Baker.
Thank you. Notice of the April meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate Commission website since August 7th, 2025. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. Individuals who wish to make a public comment on an item listed on the posted agenda during the scheduled public comment period will need to sign in on the provided sign-in sheet or by placing their name in the chat box online. It is requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes out of respect for other speakers. I will now call the roll. Chair Diaz.
Here.
Vice Chair Ferris. I'm so sorry. Vice Chair Smith. Vice Chair Smith. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Moffitt. Here. Commissioner Begley. Here. Commissioner Torbett.
Here.
Commissioner Gwynn. Here. Commissioner Rampey. Here. Commissioner Tucker. Here. Commissioner Gahn. Here. Chair Diaz, we have a quorum. 9 for 9. 9 for 9.
Very good. Next is the prayer pledge. I'll ask Commissioner Smith to please lead us in both. Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Members of the commission are provided with board materials in advance of the meeting, include the agenda and the minutes. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion to approve the agenda by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Agenda is adopted. On to the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from the February meeting? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
I hear a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve the minutes from the February meeting, seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain also.
Got one abstention by Commissioner Torbett. That passes on an 8 aye, 1 abstention basis. The minutes are approved. Ms. Baker, next we got informal appearances. Do you want to do a roll call?
Yes, we have 3 informal appearances today, and all informal appearances will also need to appear with their principal broker that they've or a principal broker that they have chosen to affiliate with. First, we have Troy Dye. Troy Dye, are you present? Okay. We are going to have to troubleshoot this. Hold on just a second. Is your mic on, Troy? Hold on just a second. Okay.
Is that working?
Okay. We have figured out a workaround. All right. Is your principal broker, Bernie Gallinari, here?
Yeah, Bernie Gallerani, they're here. He said he's listening, but it's not letting him pop up on the screen.
Okay. He will need to be present for this. We can possibly resend him the link and call you in a different order. Right now, you're candidate A. So if you want to resend him the link so he's able to log on.
Resend him this link.
Yes.
Okay, yep. They're having an issue getting on. He said he's hearing everyone and he sees me. Let me see. He's texting me right now.
Okay. Hold on. I'll see if I can troubleshoot from my end. One moment. Okay. He should. Is he here? Okay. Very good. And then do we have? And I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Coinslet. Yes, I can hear you. And if you could turn on your camera, please. Okay. Candidate B is Quinesela Tani. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Hi, my name is Peninsula, like peninsula. It's pronounced like peninsula.
Thank you. And is your principal broker here, Donald Hall?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Donald Hall is present.
Thank you. And if he could turn on his camera. Lastly, we have candidate C, Tracy Journerjohn, and principal broker Josiah Smith. Okay.
Good morning. Yes, we are here together.
Okay, perfect. We can begin with candidate C if you want to give an overview for everyone.
So we're still trying to sort out candidate A?
I'm sorry?
We're still trying to sort out candidate A, or is he candidate A? Are we
Yes,
skipping them?
his principal broker is online. However, he's not appearing on camera.
All right.
Mr. Gallinari, are you going to appear on camera?
Yes, Bernie Gallerani, and my wife, who's also the broker in our office, is here.
Will you all be appearing on camera?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Will you all be appearing on camera?
On camera, Bernie. Do you mind popping your camera on? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just not quite sure how to do that here. Hold on 1 second, guys, sorry.
Chair Diaz, if you want to give an overview for everyone.
Sure. So the way this is going to work is we're going to start with the individual candidates. They will describe in their own words the reasons why they are appearing before us today. And then commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. After that, the principal broker will speak about their sponsorship of the candidate. And then commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of their principal broker. Once all the questions have been asked, then we will vote on the application. It's an up or down vote, and we will move on with the result from there. Any questions about that process from the candidates? Okay. We ready for candidate A?
All right, we have candidate A, which is Troy Dye. Mr. Dye is before us today due to a theft conviction. He has taken and passed the state and national affiliate broker exams. His statement and letter of recommendation can be found on the iPads.
All right, Mr. Dye, the floor is yours. Please explain the circumstances that caused you to appear before us today. As soon as you're ready, sir. Unmute, please.
Denny, are you speaking to me, Denny?
Yes, did you hear what Chair Diaz just said?
I can't really hear him.
Mr. Dye?
Are you able to hear me better? Oh, okay. All right. So what we are going to do today is present you all to the commission to see if your application to become licensed with the Tennessee Real Estate Commission is approved. What we will do is the commission will ask questions, and they'll ask questions, and I'll probably repeat them to you all. And then they may ask questions of the principal broker, and then there will be consideration, and then they will vote whether or not to have you become licensed with the Tennessee Real Estate Commission. Does everyone understand? All right, we're going to begin with candidate A, which is Troy Dye and his principal broker. Mr. Dye is before us today due to a theft conviction. He has taken and passed the state and national affiliate broker exams. His statement and letter of recommendations can be found on the iPads. Mr. Dye, the floor is yours.
Have me, and my broker Bernie and his wife. Yeah, so I have a past from being, struggling with addiction. I'm sure many of you have people you know that have struggled with addiction. So, I grew up here in Tennessee, played football in college at the University of Chattanooga, and, dealt with injury. And, once I got out of college, and football was no longer, I dealt with a little struggle with the medication that the doctors put me on. So that just led down, a journey early out of college. It was very impressionable. I was working, at a company called Western Express. Probably not the best place for me to work. I had a boss who was, also using drugs, and I had a couple of coworkers who were doing the same thing. So fell into a bad crowd. That same crowd, also taught me how to take money from the company, which obviously was a terrible idea. So about 6 years ago, 2018, I was arrested and charged. I paid restitution. I spent my time in jail. I actually gave my life to Jesus and became a Christian. And I left that life in the past. And for the past 6 years, I've been clean and sober. Been just working different sales jobs. Been involved in sales my whole life. So, I went from a few different sales jobs to the job I have now, which I'm a sales development rep at a company called VeraForce. I've always had this stuff in my background, so I've had to explain it many times. Luckily, through this process, I've been able to discover that I can get everything expunged. So without this, desire to be a real estate agent, I wouldn't have ever found that out. So within a year, I'll have a completely clean record, barring one charge that's about 13 or 14 years old. So just very grateful that God's let me down this path. My wife is a real estate agent. So I've grown up here in Tennessee. She's from Michigan, and I've been able to see her grow. And she started in new home real estate when we first met. We met going on 2 years ago, and we met and married in 2 weeks. So we were very, very much not wasting time. We both had been through a lot in our past. So she has 3 boys, and so I took those 3 boys in as my stepsons. I like to use my past as an example to them, like what not to do, how to keep God first at the center. And so God's just led me down different paths, and it's been a true honor to just be in His grace. I don't deserve the many blessings that He's given me, but I really appreciate the second chance and the new life that I have now. So my dream is to be a real estate agent because I'm from here in Tennessee, so I love Tennessee. I love people moving to Tennessee. I love that my wife's not from here, so I get to show her the beauty of Tennessee. So I'd love to be an agent. I've seen her work with clients and help them find their dream home, and she's a very good agent, and so it's really inspired me. And I let my past kind of hold me back for a long time because I was afraid of explaining it, or just the fear of people seeing my past. But luckily, the courage she's given me has allowed me to move through this process, and I passed my exam, and I'm just super excited to be on board with her and to start this new career. So I appreciate your consideration, and look forward to hearing what you guys decide.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dye. Commissioners, any questions for this applicant? Hearing none, Mr. Gallerini, why don't you tell us about your sponsorship of Mr. Dye?
Mr. Gallerini, will you please, excuse me, let me go back. First of all, thank you, Mr. Dye. The commissioners didn't have any questions for you. Mr. Gallerini, do you would like to make a statement on Mr. Dye's behalf?
Yes, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, yes, we're able to hear you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for your time and your attention. I've actually known Troy. We both work out together and have for the last couple of years. And so I've gotten to know him a lot more since his wife, Rachel, has joined our team probably about 8 or 9 months ago. And so he and I used to know each other from the gym and would talk occasionally, but I've really gotten to know him at a much higher level over the last 8 or 9 months. What I love most about Troy and also his wife, Rachel, is they attend our church at Long Hollow Baptist up in Hendersonville. Rachel and Troy are both very well connected to our lead pastor, Robbie Gallaty, who is has one of the probably one of the biggest churches in the country up here in Hendersonville. And so I would just say this, just from my experiences, and at first, being led by our pastor at church is because our pastor had an addiction, a pretty serious heroin addiction for many, many years, and that's his testimony. And now he leads one of the greatest churches, I think, in the country here in Hendersonville. And so I would just say, from character standpoint of what I know of Troy, I know the work ethic and the strong Christian walk that Rachel has, just because we get a chance to work together every single day. So when this issue came about and Troy and I talked a lot about it, I just continue to encourage him in God's word that it's not really about what has happened to us. It's about that we just follow God and his leadership, and we all have a past. And just asking the board to just consider who Troy is today, and not for how he lived his life 6 or 7 or 10 years ago. Because from my experience, I see a God-loving human. I don't know if he even mentioned his wife is currently expecting. So I would just love. I think he'd be a great asset to our team and our group, and I think he'd be a great realtor for the community.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to ask Ms. Baker a question here for a second. So they can't hear us at all?
It doesn't appear that they can hear you.
So are you
I'm-
down
I'm-
for being our echo
I am
and
echoing
repeating
you
our
all.
questions?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Gallerini?
The question was asked of the commission if there are any questions for Mr. Gallerini, and there do not appear to be any questions.
All right. Hearing none, is there a motion?
Okay, the motion has been.
I have a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Torbett to approve this applicant, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any further conversation? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Dye, and good luck.
Congratulations, Mr. Dye. You have been approved to continue to apply to be a real estate agent. Congratulations. You may either stick around for the entire meeting or you may log off, whichever you would like. Next, we have candidate B, Quincinella Tani, and principal broker Donald Hall. Chair Diaz, if you would get the mic from Vice Chair Smith, they may be able to hear you better. Let's try that.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me better?
Are you able to hear him? Okay. Chair Diaz mic still does not work. So, Miss Tani, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And is your principal broker here Donald Hall?
Yes, it's Tony, and
Tony.
my first name is Peninsula.
Okay. Miss Tani and Mr. Hall. So, Miss Tani, if you would explain, let me say something first. Miss Tani is before us today due to a theft conviction. She has taken and passed the state and national affiliate broker exams. Her statement and letter of recommendation can be found on the iPads. Miss Tony, if you could please tell us why you're here today.
Good morning to the board. I want to thank you all for the consideration for my real estate license. I want to be upfront about my past. I do have a theft misdemeanor charge from 2018, and I want to take full responsibility for it. It was a mistake, and I've learned from it since then. The situation involved me using my debit card and twice for a transaction, and I understand that it was wrong, and I take full accountability for my actions. Since then, I've worked for McKesson Pharmaceutical for 5 years, and I've also worked for Memphis Shelby County Schools as a substitute teacher, and I also own and operate my own tax company. I stay active in my community through my church. I attend Greater New Liberty Greater New Liberty Church. I stay active by feeding the homeless, donating during the holidays. Over the past several years, I stayed out of trouble and remained focused on growing personally and professionally. I have 4 children. My youngest son is a St. Jude patient. He has sickle cell disease. So I'm focusing on taking care of him and just trying to really jump into my entrepreneurship, so I can maintain my son's health and also be able to sustain my bills. I understand the real estate is a profession built on trust, and I take that seriously. I believe my work history, business ownership, and the community involvement reflects the person I am today. I am asking for the opportunity to move forward and prove that I can represent the profession with integrity.
Thank you so much for your comments. Commissioners, do you have any questions for her this morning? Seeing no questions, I would like to introduce your principal broker, or Mr. Hall, who is a principal broker. Do you have any comments on behalf of candidate B this morning?
Good morning. Thank you all for taking out the time to meet with us this morning. I had the pleasure of meeting Ms. Tony and speaking with her in regards to her past. One of the things I do want to acknowledge is from the very first conversation that we had, she took full accountability of the error that she made. She talked in length and was very transparent about the mistake. And also, what impressed me was the fact that she didn't let that mistake hinder her future. She continued to work hard to reestablish her credibility in the community, and also took the steps in growing her faith, and has been very focused on raising her family. At Keller Williams, we do believe that somebody past does not define their future. So as we work with Ms. Tony, she will be in some training and coaching that will help her develop great habits in becoming a real estate agent. I'll be very active in the process along with our coaches in the firm, just to guide her to ensure that she's successful and to ensure that she's establishing good work ethic and being responsible to the clients and the community. So we are excited about the opportunity to recommend her, and we are grateful that the board met with us, are giving us the opportunity to state her case and speak on her behalf.
Thank you, sir, for your comments this morning. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Hall? Seeing no questions, is there a motion? Okay, we have a motion.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Torbett, seconded by Commissioner Bagley. Commissioners, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Tony, and good luck.
Ms. Tony, did you hear any of that?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay, Ms. Tony, congratulations. There was a motion, it was seconded, and you were unanimously approved to continue your application process to be licensed here to sell real estate in the state of Tennessee. Thank you for your time. You may choose to either stay on for the entire meeting, or you may log off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, next we have candidate C, Tracy Jenner-John. Mr. Jenner-John is before us today. Excuse me, Ms. Jenner-John is before us today due to unlicensed activity in Wisconsin. She has taken and passed the state broker exam. Her statement and letter of recommendation can be found on the iPad. Ms. Jenner-John, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Tracy Jenner-John. I just moved here in November from Wisconsin. Have been in the real estate brokerage for many years in Wisconsin. My father-in-law opened up a real estate in Wisconsin in 1948. In 1992, I started working in the office. I love working with people. Um, my license had or my business license had expired, and I had done some transactions. I fixed those. I fixed that and continued with my real estate career for since, and still am active in Wisconsin. I really want to pursue my career here in Tennessee. I love working with people. It's a dream of mine to come here and pursue that as well. Sorry, I get kind of nervous on the mic, so I apologize.
That is understandable. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Jenner-John? Seeing no questions, Mr. Smith, would you like to speak on this applicant's behalf?
Yes, good morning. I hope y'all are doing well today. Yes, I was recommended to Ms. Jenner-John by another associate agent of mine that knew her family, and she has been actively pursuing getting her license here, and I've met with her a few times at the office like we are today. I told her, I was like, hey, just meet me in the morning. We can get on this together and walk through it together. I've reviewed her convictions, and we have protocols set in place to, obviously the two biggest things is making sure people's licenses are up to date and that they have insurance. And with her being a broker at her last place and it lapsing, and that's what her, conviction was about, then, we have things in place to be able to prevent that from happening. And I would love to have her here at this brokerage and allow her to continue her journey here in Tennessee.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Smith this morning? Seeing no questions, is there a motion?
Commissioners, is there a motion?
One moment. It appears that Vice Chair Smith may have a question. Vice Chair Smith does not have a question.
Is there a motion for this applicant? I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Gwynn, seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. Any further conversation? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Jenner-John, and good luck.
Ms. Jenner-John, there was a motion to approve and a second, and you have been approved to continue the application process to be licensed here in Tennessee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You may either choose to stay on with us or you may log off. Thank you so much.
So the next batch of applicants are for the Fresh Start applications.
Yes, we now have Fresh Start applications. Does anyone need a refresher of the Fresh Start application process?
I think that would benefit everybody. Sure.
All right. Under the Fresh Start Act, a person does not have to complete the entire licensing process before finding out whether their criminal history might prevent them from being approved. One moment. Instead, before even submitting a full application, all right, thank you for your patience. Instead, before even submitting a full application, the individual may request written notice from TREC. This request asks a simple but important question. Based solely on their criminal history, is the person qualified to obtain a real estate license? The Fresh Start Act does not lower standards. It clarifies process. It requires transparency, and it ensures that individuals with criminal histories receive an early, focused determination limited to strictly that activity. Once the request is made, TREC reviews the individual criminal record that the applicant provides. If the commission determines that the person is disqualified because of their criminal history, it must provide a written notice explaining its decision. That notice must clearly outline the reasons for the determination and include the legal justification for denying eligibility. In short, the Fresh Start Act creates a preliminary review option focused solely on the criminal history that the applicant provides.
So are these applicants appearing before us today?
Yes, so we have two applicants that are before you today. The first applicant that we have is DeSanta Smith. DeSanta Smith is requesting a timeshare salesperson license. The list of convictions provided are on the iPads for your review and consideration.
Are they online with us virtually?
They
or-
are not with us virtually today.
How is this different than when they appeared?
Okay. Yes, this is a preliminary review and they provide their criminal history with us. It's not what we review typically. We typically review their TBI report. So this is, they want to see if they even should go down the path for licensure. So they haven't taken any exams. They haven't taken their fingerprints for licensure. This is just a preliminary review. If they were to become licensed, would we approve them? So before investing time and money,
If we approve this, then they get their license, they would still have to come before us.
it depends. It depends on whether or not the information that was in their application synced up with what was in their TBI report. If it differs, then they would have to appear before you. If you could get the mic, please, sir. Yes. Is it turned on?
Yes, I think last meeting Anna may have mentioned we had a 2-year waiver period or something like that, meaning they had to wait 2 years until they came to apply. This person is on parole until
August of 2026, I believe.
correct. So how does the 2-year work? Is a 2-year out the window now or what?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was part of the retrospective rule review that we worked on. So that portion was repealed. So it does not apply anymore.
So has our form been changed and all that?
Yes. Just to clarify, just so the like Director Baker was stating beforehand, there's the ability for individuals to get a preliminary determination so they don't decide. We usually have people, they make a decision sometimes whether to test or not. So, but it's whether to go through the entire application process or not. And we let them know based on the criminal history. And then if you decide at that point to approve them based on the criminal history, they will move forward with the licensure process. But since we do not have a background check on those individuals, if there's anything that's different from what they have reported with us, then we would address that at that time, or any other disqualifying information. So it's based upon the information that they submit to us, and then we make a decision. But if that is different from what we receive in an official application, we'll address it at that time.
And,
Yes.
So if everything tracks, say we approve this, then we can't not approve down the road. Is that correct or is that not correct?
You wouldn't not be able at that point to deny them based upon the criminal conviction.
Got it.
Right.
So you would be able to deny it if they weren't truthful on their application.
Should they submit a formal application after this? Is it the criminal look back, a 10-year look back, or what's the
It's
window?
still within the past 10 years, yes. That standard has not changed.
Okay. And I'm looking at the submission here, and, I'm not an attorney, I'm not involved with criminal court, but I'm looking at the case numbers, and it appears to me there's 3 separate incidents because they have same case numbers. At least the suffix, the last 3 digits or 4 digits are all the same.
Hold on 1 second, let me pull it up. Which page are you on?
The pre-adverse action notification form.
Okay.
If you could provide the Adobe page number, because there are 32 pages to this application.
3, starts on 3 of 32.
Okay, I think. Okay, yes. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are different case number. Well, they're all this. They're different counts, but the same case number.
Okay, so 3 case files with sub-incidents, with incidents in each of them.
Sorry, repeat that.
So there's 3 case files, but then there's charges within each of them.
So I see. Yes, there are 3 different case numbers, but there's charges within each of them.
Okay.
And if you look at it, they are within. I believe this is just an estimate in different courts. There's some in Chancery Court, and then some in General Sessions.
So commissioners, I'm looking at this again, and I see there's a disposition in some of them.
Yes. So the
Some charges
disposition.
he was found guilty, some he was dismissed.
Mhm.
Same T. And this is what he voluntarily provided to us.
Correct.
Anything in his submission that says that this is the totality of what we're going to see, or is this just what he submitted?
It's a good question. Because, like we said, the person, they self-report the information. So that's what I was meaning. If we get the criminal history background from a TBI and it's different and there's additional information, then at that point, we would have to address it at that time. So we had, for example, an applicant that wanted us to talk about certain criminal convictions. They said they weren't worried about the other ones. And I was like, that's not how this works. We look at all of them. So we only go on based on the information that we have at this time. So if that's separate and apart, then that person, I believe at this time, if they're applying, would come before you in the capacity of an informal appearance. Because 1, they've not been truthful with the information that they provided to us with the Fresh Start information. And 2, they have additional criminal convictions that weren't considered by you at this time.
Could you explain for me and maybe other commissioners, one of the charges is to prevent or obstruct service of legal process? What is that exactly?
What page is that on, sir?
It's right, like obstructing service of legal process. So that means it looks like they're evading being served the process with the complaint. So you have to be served with a matter.
So like that stereotypical manila folder, they try to put it in your hand and he was...
That's a process, or you don't answer the door, you don't tell us who you are, like you are dishonest with your identity. There are different ways to evade legal process.
Wow. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
So the way I'm reading this is like 285 is like an event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 286 starts at the bottom of the first page, and that's another event. So that's a felony of 10 pounds of marijuana hash, guilty, okay? And continuing on down,
Page 4 of the PDF.
A vehicular assault. I'm not sure what that is. I mean, I'm not schooled in criminal charges, but it sounds like you drove a car at somebody, or is that incorrect?
Or it could be an action that incurs like a car accident, a collision type matter, vehicular assault.
If you have a DUI, is vehicular assault, is it separate from a DUI if it's one thing, or
So
I don't want to get...
At any instance, you can be charged with multiple crimes. So let's say, for example, an individual robbed a house. Then that person could be charged with, depending on the circumstances, they could be charged with theft. They could be charged with armed robbery. They could be charged with, if they have possession of drugs at that time, possession. So you can be charged with multiple different matters depending on the circumstances. So oftentimes you may see persons like these situations, they will be charged with 3, 4 types of matters, and then certain of them are dismissed and they proceed with other with the 1 or 2 charges. It depends on what if they're making plea bargains. Also depends on what kind of case the prosecution wants to build at that time. So oftentimes you'll see more offending charges at the front end than what were actually convictions at the end.
Okay, so
But we're only focusing on all of the ones that are dismissed. You need to disregard because those are not convictions.
right.
But some are similar. I mean, there's 2 vehicular assaults, one guilty, one not, or one dismissed. So it was a further event of the same thing. Don't know the details, but I'm just
Possible. That's possible.
okay.
So we talked about, or you told us about if somebody's approved, then they will go ahead through the application process, and then they will get their background checked that is performed by the state.
Hmm.
If we say no, they're not prevented from going further in the process. They could if they wanted to, but they don't. They would have to appear before us again.
They would not need to appear before us at the time after the preliminary determination if everything matches up.
Even if we say no.
If you say no,
If we say no.
if you say no, then they can still apply.
Right.
And then they would come before us in the capacity of informal appearance.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
He's got 2. He had 1 guilty charge on vehicle assault,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's got another vehicle assault that was dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
A separate time.
It could be a separate time. It could be separate instances. We could be talking about, it depends on if there are more than one person involved, more than one vehicle involved. There are a lot of different circumstances that could be related to it, but we don't have that information at this time. So we'll only go off of the 1 vehicular assault because that's the only conviction. The other one has been dismissed and should be disregarded.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if I'm understanding you correctly,
Yes.
if we say no,
Yes.
then this individual has the option to go on and proceed with licensing expense, those things, and
Mhm.
still come back and
That would be correct.
come
Yeah,
before
they
us.
can. They can at that point, if they would like to. We would notify them of the denial, and of. I believe there may be appeal rights related to it,
Okay.
but they can also, if they wanted to, apply for the actual position. But then they would, because these matters seem to be things that come before you, have to appear before the commission at that time.
Okay. You ready for a vote?
Commissioners, any other questions? Anybody need more time to review the submission?
If you could speak into the mic, Commissioner Torbett.
Discussion. I'm just more inclined to say no on the face of this, knowing that they would have the opportunity to still come before us in person and discuss.
Will you be able to communicate the commission's comments back to this applicant?
Yeah, we can usually when there's a denial, we have like a standard language that we state. But if there's like specific information that you would like to be conveyed to them, then we can do that at this time. At that time,
I would like personally to say that I'm more than happy to give somebody a second chance, but I don't think we have enough information. We have too many questions, and I'd like to hear from this person and know more about them.
I sense that we might be ready for a motion. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Smith.
I make a motion that we deny this request based on the information provided so far.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Smith to deny this request, seconded by Commissioner Gwynn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. The next applicant
The next applicant we have is Nikki Grubbs. She is requesting a designated agent license. The list of convictions provided that she provided are on the iPads for your review and consideration.
Okay, so the court records that she provided, I say she, I'm sorry, was possession and intent and a detectable amount of methamphetamine, Schedule II controlled substance.
This one's different than the last one to me because there's a lot more information here. Can I make a motion? I make a motion to approve this request.
I have a motion by Commissioner Torbert to approve this application, seconded by Commissioner Gahn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. On to waiver requests. Ms. Baker?
Thank you.
For the first waiver request, we have Miss Colleen Loy. Ms. Loy is requesting a waiver of late fees and retesting due to the passing of her son. We will pass out her statement because it's not on your iPad. Her license expired on March 30th, 2024. She is also eligible to take the trace course. Oh, you all already have it. Very good.
Mm-hmm. So,
She's requesting just the fee to be waived.
and retesting.
Education, or she doesn't want to retest.
So it says here her license, I'm sorry, I'm going to step on your question a little bit. So it says here that her license has been retired and expired. So she didn't maintain her license while in retirement?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And
Oh, I see it. The fees and retesting.
But she could do the trace course.
She now qualifies for the trace course. When she wrote that letter, she didn't quite qualify for the trace course, which is why she is before you today. However, now she qualifies for the trace course because it is over that 2-year period. But part of the trace course is also the fee, or she could just retest and not pay the fee at all.
and I just got to say, I'm just reading this statement here. She got attacked by fire ants from a bag of mulch at Lowe's. Oh my goodness, that must have been awful. I mean, I hate to laugh at it, but oof, brutal. Okay. Any thoughts, commissioners? Or a motion?
She doesn't live in Tennessee. She has a Tennessee license, correct?
Yes, she has a Tennessee license.
But she's living in South Carolina? Or don't know.
Let me I mean, I can verify her home address, but
Just,
Yeah,
would you like, do I need to verify her home address? She does have a Tennessee real estate
okay,
license.
all right.
Yeah.
So I just wondered, she has a non-resident license then.
I mean, she could have moved. I can verify the address we have on file for her, but that being out of state doesn't prevent you from getting a license
Right.
here in Tennessee. And it appears that we now have a different address for her that
Okay.
is in Tennessee.
So, can you say how long her license has been in retirement status? Did she retire it at least
One-
2 years before?
One moment, please.
March of 24.
Right. But that was the expiration date. She's been licensed since '06. I just want to see if that she had been maintaining her license until the events that she describes.
One moment, I'm still reviewing her licensing history. Okay, it appears that she requested to put her license in retirement in 2021.
Okay.
And it was actually, she requested it December 8th of 2020, and it was approved on January 12th, 2021.
So there was at least 1 or 2 renewal cycles
Correct.
before it expired. Okay.
She also technically qualifies for a third path, which would be to pay the necessary fees, 2 renewal cycle fees, and 32 hours of education. But since she has now exceeded the 2-year period, she qualifies for the trace course.
Is there a motion?
Pay the fee.
Unless we waive it.
I'm sorry? She would not have to retest. The trace course allows you to take the 30-hour course, pay the fee, and have your license reinstated without retesting and reapplying. Her other option is also to retest and reapply and not have to pay any fee at all.
So she wants us to waive both, though. She wants us to get rid of the late fees and the retest.
Correct.
And what would be the status of her license if we do that? Would it go back to retired?
I believe that's what she requested in her letter. You all have the option to reduce the fee. You all have the option to apply the trace course. You all have the option to say no.
Commissioner
If you
Bagley,
could speak into the
microphone.
mic, please, sir.
I definitely have sympathy for her situation from that first paragraph, and could understand how this might be the last thing on her mind. So, I'm going to recommend waiving the fee and having her take the trace course.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bagley to waive the late fee for this application and to require this applicant to take the trace course. Seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Any further conversation? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. What do we got next, Ms. Baker?
Thank you. We have Ebony Hansberry. Ms. Hansberry license was revoked due to lack of E&O insurance on May 3rd, 2024. Her statement can be found on the iPads. She is eligible for the trace course. Her E&O penalty should not be waived. So she has 2 penalties. She has an E&O penalty for lack of E&O insurance, and then because her license expired, there's another penalty.
So her license was revoked for lack of E&O?
Would you repeat that question, please?
So her license, because it says revoked on here, so it was revoked because she didn't have E&O insurance?
Correct.
Okay. And she has the fees associated with that? Okay.
Correct.
And you say pre-license hours only, so is that 16 hours?
90.
90 hours?
Yes, unless she transferred from another state, but I don't think she did. But it's not 90 hours of pre-licensing education here in Tennessee.
So the total fee is $2,200.
Yes.
she's asking for a reduction of $1,100. Is that what I'm reading?
I think she's asking for it all.
Okay, in the second paragraph of her page, of her letter.
When she wrote this, she may not be aware of the E&O insurance. I don't quite understand her letter in its entirety because she jumps around.
Sure. Thank you.
So is she eligible for the trace course as well?
Yes, she's eligible for the trace course. If you could speak into the mic, I didn't hear your question. I'm sorry, we have to share mics today. I apologize.
So that the trace is 30 hours, correct?
Yes, the trace course is 30 hours.
You have to do an additional 60. Earlier you said 90 hours.
Well, that's pre-licensing education.
Mm. So the trace would be all the hours she would have to take?
Yes, the 30 hours is the trace course.
So when you say pre-license hours only, that's education she's completed.
Correct, yes.
So she already has.
She
60
hasn't done
hours.
any continuing education since she's had her license.
So no CE. She got her license in 22.
Is there
You know, I'm sorry.
I'm assuming we give them a time frame to get that education completed, correct?
I would hope you would make that motion.
And we failed to do that in the other motion.
We didn't put a timeline on it.
I know,
Okay.
but we should have.
It probably would be helpful, but I mean, at any point she could take, or the previous candidate could take the trace course and become compliant with you all. And it has to be taken before she's licensed. So she doesn't automatically get a license until she takes the course and pays the previous candidate doesn't have to pay the fee, but no one gets a license if you all assign the trace course, depending on when you assign the trace course. For these waivers, we do not allow them to have a license until they meet the obligations that you all give them to regain their license.
So if we said no, what are her options? Basically start over, right?
Her options are to pay the $1,100 E&O
Okay.
and to retest, reapply.
Both of those things.
And to pay the $2,200 and take the trace course is her other option.
What is her cheapest option? Other than, yes, what is her cheapest option?
Because there's an E&O penalty, that she needs to rectify that E&O penalty. So the most economical option was to rectify the E&O penalty and retest, reapply.
Ah.
I'll make a motion that we make her pay the 1,100 E&O and take the trace course.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gahn to require this applicant to pay the $1,100 fee for E&O insurance and to take the trace course. Seconded by Commissioner Bagley.
What happens to the late fee?
Waived.
It's waived.
Did you waive the late fee?
All right, so I'll restate the motion. So the motion is to waive the late fee and have this applicant pay the $1,100 in E&O insurance and to take the trace course. Seconded, made by Commissioner Gahn, seconded by Commissioner Bagley. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Ms. Baker.
The last waiver request we have today is Brittany Guy. Ms. Guy's license expired March 6, 2025. She could be eligible for the trace course if you all permit it. Her statement and letter from a physician can be found on the iPads.
So she has 3 hours of CE. That's what we're saying?
Correct. And since she is over a year but less than 2, you all would have to specifically assign that trace course to her.
So she this is an affiliate license we're considering, and then firm license you have is retired, and E&O as retired, but both are not applicable. So is she not affiliated with a firm because it's,
She's not affiliated with the firm at this time. No.
okay, so she would have to affiliate, obviously.
Of course, yes, sir. She would have to affiliate with the firm. And she's not affiliated because she's in retirement.
And the late fees are,
$1,100.
and the, because expiration or?
Yes.
Okay.
The late fee exists because her license expired. And she would be another person that could retest and reapply and not pay any fee at all. If she came into the office and didn't have a waiver request, her options would be to pay the $1,100 and the trace course to become licensed once again, but she has submitted a medical waiver request.
So can we waive the fee but require the trace course? So I'll make a motion that we waive the fee and require the trace course.
I have a motion by Commissioner Torbett to waive the $1,100 fee and require the trace course, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. On to Ms. Brittany, education report.
I got executive director report first.
No, ma'am.
Oh, it's different here.
Oh, is it?
Well,
Our iPad agenda has.
Our iPad agenda is different than the written
well,
agenda.
that's the library. You're not in the agenda.
I mean, I could go last if you want.
Ms. Brittany will follow the agenda.
Good morning, commissioners. I am excited to be presenting the education report for y'all today. On pages 1 through 8, you will find the 18 candidates labeled AI-1 through, 25, my apologies, 25 candidates, AI-1 through AI-25, who've applied to be certified TREC instructors. The individuals presented today have met the qualification for instructors listed in TREC Rule 1260-05-.04.
Commissioners, any instructor applicants that you wish to pull and discuss further? Applicants AI-1 through AI-25. Hearing none, is there a motion?
Second.
I have a motion to approve these instructor applicants from Commissioner Gwynn, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Ms. Brittany, the courses.
Next, on pages 9 through 17, you'll find the total of 42 courses labeled A1 through A42 that providers have applied for your approval to offer continuing education credit hours to licensees. All courses presented today have met the requirements set forth by TREC Rule 1260-05-.03, and each course has been assigned to one of the 17 subject categories as mentioned in TREC Rule 1260-05-.035A.
Commissioners, are there any courses that you wish to pull for further discussion? Courses A1 through A42.
Make a motion to approve the courses.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve courses A1 through A42, seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Lastly, on page 18, you'll find the find the exam snapshot for all exam types of pass-fail rates for the months of February and March. And on pages 19 through 34, you'll find the more detailed monthly reports for each exam with the breakdown of the pass-fail rates by pre-licensing provider. If there are no further questions, that concludes my report.
Ms. Brittany, we went through an exercise, I guess a few months ago now, where the test questions and all that were updated. and all that? Has that process been
We
completed?
completed that in July of 2025 to be in compliance with the new legislation that was passed last year. Director Baker, myself, and General Counsel Matlock went through all, I think there was well over 250 questions for both state affiliate and state broker exams to make sure that all questions were in compliance with the new legislation.
Okay.
And depending how this session goes, we might be doing that again this summer.
Good times. Any questions for Ms. Brittany? That concludes your report? All right, very good. Thank you so much. Ms. Baker, your turn.
Thank you. First of all, my report is on your iPads, including the financials and the new profession count are on your iPads for your review. And I have a couple of updates if you don't have any questions about the report that's on your iPad. Okay. First of all, I want to thank the East Tennessee Association of Realtors for allowing TREC to use the facility yesterday to conduct and offer 4 free hours of continuing education. The facility is absolutely beautiful, and we appreciate not only being able to use the facility yesterday, but for today for the TREC meeting as well. So if we can all applaud the East Tennessee Association of Realtors. Thank you for opening your local association up to us. Next, I have an update in reference to the high school program. On April 1st, we began enrolling participants in the high school program, so it's been about 7 days. We have 50 participants enrolled and 5 who are in the process that we need to review their applications. So we have room for about 100 students, so we're nearly halfway there, having the applications only open for a week. I also went to a high school last week to speak to them about the program. So we are rocking and rolling with that. I'll have additional updates for you about that program in June. Are there any questions in reference to that?
Are you able to say what the distribution of the enrollees is?
Not at this time, but I'll have that type of information for you in June.
Thank you.
Lastly, on May 1st, TREC will be offering free continuing education once again. However, we are going to be doing that in West Tennessee at the Memphis Area Association of Realtors. The CE will begin at 9:00 a.m. There will be a lunch break included in there, and they can visit the Memphis Area Association of Realtors website, anyone listening, to review the times, and the cost is free. We do ask anyone that has previously gone to one of these free sessions not attend, to allow room for others to attend in the future. That concludes my report if there are not any other questions.
Any questions for Ms. Baker? Hearing none, we have reached the public comment period. Is there anybody in the gallery or online that wishes to take advantage of the public comment period?
We do have one person that has requested to speak for public comment. Not sure where. Oh.
Very good. Ms. Baker, you want to talk about how the public comment period works?
Sure. One moment, please. And then I'm also going to put up a timer. As I stated earlier, individuals who wish to make a public comment on an item listed on the posted agenda during the scheduled public comment period will need to sign in, which has happened, and we are at that period now. It is requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes out of respect for today's agenda. One moment as I put the timer on our screen so we can respect everyone's time. Just a moment, please. Just a moment. Sorry, I have a lot of screens open. Denny, is the time going to appear on the screen? All right, thank you, Denny. All right, sir, the time is yours.
Bob Sorey from the Principal Broker of Best Real Estate Advisors. I asked to be on the agenda and to make a presentation in February. That was denied. I would like to talk about a couple of different items. One, I hope that everyone understands the purpose and the mission statement. I believe HOAs are an issue, and I think that staff is probably very aware of what's going on with that through the legislature. I did ask about errors and omissions insurance. Principal brokers are fined because they do not have access to actually verify and see the policy when it's purchased. I will say that that has changed. That was one of two items that I asked about. The second item is tail coverage. A person can retire 2 weeks before the end of their coverage, and as the statute requires, E&O is mandatory. It's not an option, but if you retire 2 weeks before your errors and omission expires and you do not have tail coverage, there is no coverage whatsoever to protect the public. Both HOAs as well as tail coverage for licensees as well as the public are very important. I believe that last August there was a presentation made about open records as well as the Sunshine Law. I'll ask you if the legal report was on December, February, or today's agenda. If not, I would ask for legal advice before you proceed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Any others, Ms. Baker?
No, sir, that concludes the public comment period.
Okay. In that case, I will declare the public comment period closed, and I will take us into a recess. Let's come back at 10:30?
Yes.
Do 10:30.
Yes, sir, 10:30. Thank you, sir.
We are in recess. All right, commissioners ready? Staff ready? Very good. All right, the next item on our agenda, we are back in order, by the way. Next item on our agenda is the legislative update. Ms. Matlock, as soon as you're ready.
Good morning, commission members. I have a very brief legislative update. The first update is that we are still in legislative session. Hopefully, well, it will be, or prayerfully will be done by June when we see you guys in the next meeting, and we'll be able to give you some information about final decisions related to some of these matters, even though I did look them up yesterday on the legislative website, and so I have a few updates. So I'm going to be talking about the 3 bills that I mentioned last time. The first one is going to be SB 1786, HB 1916. So that is the bill that is related to vacation lodging services, which would remove the requirement from licensees to have to obtain a separate designated agent designated agent license. So you would still be the designated agent for the vacation lodging service. You just wouldn't essentially. It removes that requirement for the 8 hours of CE. So you don't have to hold both of those licenses. The last update that I saw for that bill is that it has been placed behind the budget, which at this time means that it's not currently moving. So the last update, I believe, for that bill was in early March. However, that doesn't mean that it's the end of the bill. There is a possibility for it to further move, but at this time, it's not moving further at this within the General Assembly. The second bill is HB 1677, SB 1692, and that is the Military Families Licensing Recognition Act. This would create additional licensing standards and limitations for the retired members and active members of military, their spouses and dependents. So we have those requirements already, but they would essentially give us, it would mirror more of the federal legislation that allows that kind of reciprocal licensure. And of course, of note, this one would include dependents, which neither our rules nor the federal legislation require. So the update I have for that bill is that has also been placed behind the budget. So at this time, I don't believe that bill is moving forward. However, we're still in the midst of it, so things can change. The last one I'll be discussing is SB 2224 and HB 2530. This is the administration bill that we mentioned beforehand that has a couple of changes to our statutes. First, as I had mentioned last time, it's going to expand some of the post-licensure criminal convictions to those violent or forced misdemeanors and felonies. So those individuals, after they've been licensed and have been convicted of those, their license is subject to revocation. Also, it is going to make some changes related to firm requirements. So it's removing the requirement for a sign to state that you are in the real estate industry, because as we discussed last time, how exactly do you say that unless you say real estate firm or something? Another one is that it is going to remove the requirement for individuals to send the commission a zoning letter. That does not mean that firms are exempt from zoning requirements. It means that that is none of the commission's business at this point. So zoning will be on the firms at that point. And then the last change is going to be to some requirements related to notice for here. These are going to be notices that are for hearings and E&O suspensions or revocations. So at first, it states in the statute that those must be sent by first-class mail. Now it's more so permissive, and it's allowing us to also send those electronically to individuals instead of having to send them out via first-class mail. So those are the major bills that I wanted to talk about. There's another bill that is pending within. We have a lot. We're tracking, I mentioned to the group yesterday when we were speaking to the East Tennessee Realtors that I have tracked and reviewed more bills this session than I have any other session before. So we're very busy and looking at that. There's another bill that's currently moving that I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it does deal with rulemaking. So essentially that bill would require us to expand the notice for rulemaking matters that we're doing, and it would include some of those professional trade associations that are known to us, to let them know that we are doing rulemaking, even though, we already send out e-notify is announced at the meetings, but it would just be another, like a layer of notification. And I think that, so at this time, I believe those are the only ones of note to let you all know about. So I'll be able to have a final legislative update with a decision in June, barring the apocalypse, and we're still in session. If we're still in session in June, never mind. I really hope we're not. Any questions? Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So before we get to the legal report, two things. Notice that there are a lot of administratively opened by staff cases regarding, I guess, zombie firm licenses and such. Is that a specific effort by staff to call those out?
Yes, and I think I mentioned this in a previous commission meeting. TREC is being more proactive and looking at firms to make sure that their principal broker is licensed in a manner in which they should. So because of that, we have noticed you will probably see an uptick of firms that had a principal broker that was deceased, their license had expired, they had an E&O issue, and so we proactively sent those firms 10-day letters requesting that they rectify the situation with their firm because they shouldn't be a firm if they don't have a principal broker. And so that is why you see an uptick in those types of cases in the legal report this month.
Do you expect that to be an ongoing process? Or?
Of course. We're going to be proactive and not reactive at TREC as long as I'm leading it.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question on that. I had a follow-up question on that. So, because I think there were 50 or more in the report this time.
It was the very first time that report had ever been ran, as far as I know. So,
okay,
yeah.
It's okay, because I kept reading it. My question, and I had the same question, was, so when the suggestion, when we're told that you're closing, when a firm is being closed because of lack of a principal broker in place, correct? Then if there are agents in that firm, are they notified at the same time? How does
we
that
notify
process work?
every agent that the firm is being closed. Every single agent is notified. And I also want to shout out a TREC team member, Scott and Rihanna. Scott really has been doing the heavy lifting on this particular project because we knew there were going to be many of them having the first time that this report has been run. Hopefully in the future you won't see this many because we're going to continue to run it on a continual basis, probably once a quarter, just to ensure that all firms are in compliance with the licensed principal broker.
What would be the process to reopen that firm?
They would need to pay a fee to become licensed again, and depending on whether or not how long they've been expired or if the zoning legislation that Program Counsel Matlock referenced, they may need to provide that depending upon their particular circumstance.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question on that as well. So you kept using the phrase after staff discovered. Is that by running this report?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was like a big tracking deal on mismatches between principal broker and firm and dates and.
I pulled all 4,400 and some odd firms, and we checked every firm to make sure that their principal broker was in compliance.
Perfect. I mean, this is great. I think this is massive cleanup, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll see one or two in the future and not a list of 50. Yes. And as you all know, I haven't been in this role long, and I think we started pulling those reports in October, November of last year, and so now they are appearing before you all. Many firms rectified their situations where an affiliate broker stepped up and became broker, or there was another broker within the firm that became broker, or the principal broker that was on staff rectified their license to keep their firm active. So a lot of these were remedied, and the ones that are in your legal report today weren't remedied in a timely fashion. Thank you for these questions.
Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of us, when we saw the number of cases this month, the number of cases this month, I think a lot of us, when we saw almost 200 cases on the legal report, kind of shocked us a little bit. And,
Yeah.
heard some grumblings from commissioners about meeting them every monthly again if that was going to be the normal caseload. But it doesn't sound like that'll be the normal caseload going forward. Maybe.
We hope that that
So
is
are-
not
is-
necessarily the case,
Is
because
staff able to forecast like when they're going to have like a 200 case report? And maybe
We're putting the cases on the legal report that we need to, meaning within that 180 time frame. So I can't predict amount of cases that may be on the next legal report, but we're working with the numbers that we have, which are higher than any other board. So we're doing the best that we can.
So is this a seasonal thing? Is this like we're in a season of a heavy workload, or is it just?
Well, I also think that we're doing more outreach, and so people are also more aware of the types of infractions that others are doing. For example, advertising, which you don't see necessarily advertising cases, but whenever we have a training, there may be an uptick in advertising cases. You're going to see an uptick in E&O cases in about 4 months. So this is the cadence. We have explained to leadership within the Department of Commerce and Insurance the need for maybe more assistance, and so we're continuing those conversations as it pertains to our legal
More-
team.
As a legal team, also resources for the legal team to process cases?
Correct.
Well, we can if we want. I think there's an appetite to have a conversation about meeting monthly
Okay.
again, just because the idea of having to cull through 200 cases, the latest example, in the time period that you provide us the materials to us is can be a heavy lift depending on what season we're in our business. So, commissioners, any discussions, any thoughts about possibly returning to a monthly meeting? And again, I'll say to commissioners that, we're serving on this commission. It's an honor to serve. But again, if on a particular month you are unable to attend, or you just frankly just don't want to attend, we can't compel you to be here. And we're always thankful and grateful to see everybody. But if that doesn't fit into your life on that particular month, we understand. So there's a balance that needs to be struck between reading the legal report. I know the preparation of the legal report is a heavy lift, but reading the legal report and having time to deliberate and understand what we're reading is important to me, and it might be important to other commissioners as well. And 200 cases was a lot for me. So I'm interested to hear other commissioners and what they think. Commissioners.
The only thing I was kind of wondering is if it would be possible to have all the administratively open cases together instead of scattered throughout the report, so you could maybe review those in bulk, let's call it, versus the other ones. I mean, they're all throughout. I mean, it started at number 5 and ended at 175, whatever it was.
Well, they're all throughout the report because that's how they are, how they're opened. So, like,
We all are the ones that are opening the administrative. Can you just open them in one fell swoop, or no?
no, because they're opened on a rolling basis. So, like, we don't have just like I don't want to use a drop of cases. So, and also, depending if the cases are sent out for response, it depends on whenever that principal broker responds back to us. So even if we were to open them all the time, we'll have some that will be, opened 1 week, some will be opened another, because some people are fast, some people don't respond at all. So that's how we do it. But if you wanted us to move them on the report onto like one section, could consider doing that. But again, it's separated by Kim and Ariel. So like, however.
It's just a thought. I mean, it's not a killer one way or the other. Just
right.
If there was, like Jeff is saying, if there was 50 on there and most of them are short and a lot of them say the same thing.
Right. We've already condensed to a consent agenda from a consent agenda to a legal report. So I don't know how we condense it any further. at this point, but we can think of ways to maybe organize it better. But since I'm speaking right now, I'd just like to commend Ariel and Kim for the amount of work that they've had to put in. So you guys are reading 200 cases and they're reviewing 200 cases. So it's certainly a large task for them to do, and they're doing, I think, a great job. So, but we'll talk about ways to maybe further organize the legal report so it's maybe easier to read.
Moving to every other month, was that a suggestion from the directors? Or was that a discussion for us, or is it don't talk about it?
I'm finding the words. Leadership, along with other regulatory boards within the Department of Commerce and Insurance, meet around quarterly. And so the cadence of TREC meeting monthly was out of sync with other regulatory boards within the department. We compromised by moving to an every other month situation. It does several things. One, it allows our team at TREC to continue to have a robust workflow, especially when we're meeting every other month instead of every month, because the turnaround time is very, very tight when you meet every single month. In addition to that, it kind of lowers our budget numbers as it pertains to travel, moving to every other month. And then thirdly, we're more in sync with the other regulatory boards as it pertains to how often in the cadence that we're meeting. We were the only board meeting monthly. And so we are more in line with every other board. As you know, there are 26 26, 27 regulatory boards, and most of them meet quarterly. And so we kind of compromise by meeting every other month now.
Any more comments or questions?
So Anna referred earlier that we by far have the most cases.
We do.
On these quarterlies, you know that we have 200 this month.
Mm-hmm.
Would they have 10 a month, 50 a month?
Depends on the board.
I'll say one of the larger boards, Motor Vehicle Commission, they meet quarterly, and they have 200 complaints, but that's quarterly. So, yeah.
What we can look at doing is possibly getting you the report sooner than a week out. Maybe we can compromise on trying to get it to you 10 days out. But we try to get you all the latest and greatest information in a respectful time period, so you do have the opportunity to review it before coming to the commission meeting.
So, did I miss something on the 50 in the sense that most of our cases we need to read and analyze and make a judgment call? I didn't see anything on these 50 cases that I could contribute or that I needed to really study too hard, because it was just a simple legal matter. They didn't have E&O, they didn't have a broker, whatever that case was. So, I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time on the 50, because once I got to the 10th one, I was like, there's not much here for me, and I concentrated on the stuff where there was a respondent and a complainant and the cases that we typically have. So,
well, what Kim and Ariel strive to do is give you a complete picture of what the case is about. And yes, this particular time, the cases are repetitive, or the administrative cases are repetitive, because TREC was proactive. The TREC team was proactive in pulling these cases. But that doesn't negate how hard they work to give you all a complete picture of any particular case in its entirety every single time. And I think what you see and what is reflected in the legal report this time is that they're giving you the complete and actual picture, but the circumstances of that picture are all the same. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
So, and I know in some instances we've delegated authority to staff to kind of adjudicate and dispose of cases that are clear-cut statutory in nature that really don't need a commission action to dispose of. Is there maybe an instance in these cases where they could be disposed like that?
I will defer to program counsel.
I don't know. So we've talked a lot about a lot of different things right now that we can come back to you with some more information about how to process this moving forward, looking at cases and numbers, but I don't have that information for you right now, how it's going to look, but we can have more information for you to discuss in June. So I don't want to make any promises today about anything other than you will have a legal report in June. Don't know how many cases will be on it, but we can, at that time, go back, look at the numbers, have internal discussions, and come back to you guys and have a more robust conversation.
Yeah.
Can we make that deal?
Deal.
Thank you.
If I may, as a relatively a newer commission member, how often are cases pulled for discussion that where the recommendation by staff is to dismiss?
That depends on y'all. I mean,
Well, so I'm asking the commission members, like,
Yeah, I mean, if the recommendation by staff can be dismissed, but if we read the fact set and we feel like a sanction is warranted, then any commissioner can make a motion to impose a sanction rather than dismiss.
And you need to remember that we're practitioners.
Mhm.
They're legal.
Yeah.
So we see things differently, and they see things differently. So they may say dismiss, and we may ask for a form or a proof of something else that they're not aware of.
okay.
Any further discussion? All right, I sense everybody's chomping at the bit to get to the legal report, so. So as discussed, the commissioners receive the legal report in advance of the meeting so that they can deliberate and understand the cases. Commissioners also can request cases to be pulled for further discussion, and those numbers are as follows. Commissioners, if you're ready. Cases 19, 27, 56, 92, 136, 139, and yes, the commissioner made it all the way to 189. So, are there any other cases that commissioners wish to pull that haven't been mentioned? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve and accept council's recommendation? A motion to approve council's recommendation for the remaining cases, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any noes? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. First case on the legal report is case number 19, and that's me. So my notes on case number 19 was to ask where the earnest money went. Was it go back to the seller? Was it interpled?
They did not specify in their response whether they returned the earnest money or if it was interpled. So I do not have that answer for you.
So the last two sentences in the narrative says the respondent asserted that the complainants refusing to accept an acceptable offer on their home. They were not holding true to the contract both parties entered into, and therefore respondent refused to return the earnest money. So the respondent is asserting that there was a duty to perform, and the complainant decided not to sell their home. Is that what I'm reading that to? Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct, that they didn't meet the terms of the purchase sale agreement because they actually went through, I think, 3 different contracts to purchase. There was a contingency that they would have to sell their home. They did receive an offer on the home, and then they decided they didn't want to sell the home. So at that point, because the respondent had already worked with them, I think they were frustrated with them by that point, and that, I'm sure, played into it. But because they said the contingency was removed once they received a good faith offer, that they were not entitled to the refund of the earnest money.
Okay, so that's what led to my question. Where did the earnest money go? Was a transaction closed? Did they sell the house?
Not to the complainant, but to someone else, yes.
Someone else. So at least from what was submitted by the respondent, that's an open question as to where their earnest money went.
To whether it's what? I'm sorry.
Well, to where the earnest money went, who received it?
Yes. As far as the complainant's concerned, yes.
And the respondent didn't volunteer that?
No, sir. Only that their position was that they didn't have to return their earnest money.
I mean, it has to go somewhere. You just can't hold on to it forever. Commissioners, what do you think?
So it's an earnest money dispute, and the holder of the earnest money has the option to interplead it or keep it and be sued if the person putting up the earnest money wants to do. But that's the situation with the earnest money.
It looks like this person, their license expired, right? Were they going to renew it, or?
That was the information. The complaint was actually submitted before the license expired, so this wasn't an unlicensed activity situation. I can check and see what the current status is. Usually the paralegal is pretty good about updating that information before the report goes out, but I'll check. Okay, Ms. Matlock tells me it's still expired at this point.
I agree with Mike. I'm going to make a motion to go with council's recommendation and dismiss.
I have a motion to accept council's recommendation in case number 19 to dismiss, made by Commissioner Bagley, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 27. So you're closing and flag this one just in case this respondent shows up again?
If I receive additional information, yes, sir, that I
Additional
can actually get them served with something, that I'll move forward at that point. But right now, and I don't have a complainant that has responded to inquiries either about updated information. So at this point, I really have nowhere left to go with it, which is why I said to close and flag.
All right. So since you have nowhere left to go, it's premature to put a failure to respond on it?
Well, it would be unlicensed anyway, so there wouldn't be a
failure to respond. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Council's recommendation was to close and flag. Is there a motion? Commissioner. Okay, there's a motion to accept council's recommendation by Commissioner Gwynn, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 56, Commissioner Smith.
Yes. Can you tell me what 1260-02 12.3E is? How it relates to this violation?
That would be one of the advertising rules.
Okay.
3E says no licensee shall advertise property listed by another licensee without written authorization from the listing agent or listing broker.
So when they used their photos, that's what they were doing, correct?
Yes.
No.
Wait, what? Sorry, what?
Wait.
Okay, let's try again.
Let's try this again. There was a discussion on the photos being used.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a copyright violation more so than falling under that statute.
So the even if the pictures are associated with the listing, so it's not. I mean, it could, but it just says property listed by another licensee. Does
Well,
Okay.
and the respondent says that the photos were provided by the seller. So they had no reason to believe that they were the property of somebody else.
So I was a little confused.
So in Nashville, if you turn it into MLS, they'll remove those pictures out of the MLS if I use someone else's photos and didn't have their permission.
Say that one more time, Mike. I didn't hear you.
So in Greater Nashville, in our real tracks, if I report that you're using my pictures and can prove that they are, then they will remove those pictures from your listing and give you a warning.
That was their argument.
Okay. I mean, this is another example of
Mhm.
what we think versus what y'all think. So,
I mean, again, if we're to take the respondent at his word, there's no reason not to. The seller gave the respondent the photos. So I don't know if that makes that's a distinction without a difference, or if that is a layer in front of the respondent to say, I just took the photos from my client. I don't know.
So I want to be clear for consistency's sake, because we had a similar case maybe 2 years ago where we did move forward under similar circumstances with a civil penalty. So you're saying if it's just the photographs, not the entire listing, Commissioner Begley, you don't feel that that would be using another licensee's listing without their permission?
The way I read that is, I've always interpreted it was, if Kathy has a listing, I can't promote that list. I can't promote that listing as my own also, but without permission. Yeah. So this is more where agents just go in and they may copy the paragraph of a description that's public or private use, and the agents might bicker about that and fuss. But this is a situation where most people are getting professional photographs now. After they get them, they may have sent it to the seller in a file, and then the seller shared that with the new agent. That agent said, I paid for those, you need to pay me. They're disputing over that fee, and that guy's just saying, well, I didn't get them from you, I got them from Stacy, so you need to talk to her about it. So, but yeah, it's not I think it's more, you can't act like, I can't act like I have Kathy's listing or take that listing and list it at the same time when she has an agreement with the seller. You agree?
So council's recommendation was to impose a civil penalty of $500. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to dismiss. I believe this is a copyright issue.
I have a motion by Commissioner Rampey to dismiss, seconded by Commissioner Bagley. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 92, Commissioner Smith.
Okay, let's see. Give me just a minute. Okay, the recommendation was for a civil penalty of $1,000 because they did not respond to TREC. But I feel like there was an issue when they did not respond, the complainant did not respond to the respondent. Did I say that right? So I'm concerned that maybe there should be an additional penalty there because they did not treat their client or customer or consumer professionally. So you're going to tell me what page it's on?
Well,
Typically, Commissioner Smith, when we have a failure to respond, that's what we move forward on, the violation. We don't usually address any underlying violations in the original complaint.
That was the question I wrote was, do we wait till we get more information before we do anything else when pursuing? And your answer is yes.
Generally, yes.
Okay. Then I make a motion, we accept council's recommendation.
Commissioner Smith makes a motion to accept council's recommendation in case number 92, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 136. Is 136?
There was,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The next to the last sentence where it says, there's a link in the document showing that the respondent was based against the complainant. Should that be addressed with a fair to all parties?
You're saying that because...
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Ariel.
so sorry.
I didn't realize I jumped.
It
I'm
switched,
sorry.
yeah, the rest from me. You're saying for the link in the documents, you're saying...
Yeah. There's a link in the document showing that the respondent was biased against the complainant.
I think it was more or less meant to be like their assertion, based off what I remember reviewing for those documents, because there were quite a few of them, because they involved like some civil situations along with that. They did know each other, or like maybe they had like some kind of like friendly talk, but
Conflict within themselves.
But it seems like a very like superficial, like hi, bye. We're just talking about the case or like about certain aspects of it.
Okay.
And I believe the complainant just didn't believe that that was appropriate, although they were also a party and could have engaged. They just didn't engage as much as the respondent and the other seller.
Okay.
But I can fix that language though, so it's clearer.
That was my question on that one. Did you have that one also?
I did not.
Anybody else? Nobody else had that one.
All right, council's recommendation was to dismiss. Commissioner Smith.
I make a motion that we accept council's recommendation to dismiss.
Commissioner Smith makes a motion to accept council's recommendation on case number 136. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Gwen. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those favoring the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Smith, case number 139.
In this, sorry. Again, the sentence was, it was discerning that the documents received were obtained by impersonating the respondent and their coworker. Of course, I understand the main issue was a contract dispute. But are we saying that a document was sent to be signed electronically and somebody else impersonated that person? Is that what that's saying?
I believe that was an admission by the complainant that they said they had like logged into a document as someone else, like using the respondent and other people's credentials, and that was the concerning part, but wasn't part of the...
That really wasn't part of the complaint. It was just
it was the complainant essentially admitting like how they got the information. So that was just kind of like of note, and I was just kind of putting it out there like that was a weird way to get the information and to state that you've used other people's credentials.
council's recommendation was to dismiss. Commissioner Smith?
And there's no earnest money being held anywhere, so that wasn't an issue, correct?
The issue was essentially just like the terms of the contract about like what should have been considered as is and if they had the inspection period.
Okay.
Correct, but
I make a motion, we accept council's recommendation.
Commissioner Smith makes a motion to accept council's recommendation in case number 139, seconded by Commissioner Moffett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those favoring the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 189, I pulled that one. So I think on this one, I wrote in my notes, what is the license history of the affiliate? What records do we have on our side? And I think I asked that question because I'm concerned that there might be, in some of these cases, you have a broker that turns over and they're not necessarily aware of the roster and who their affiliates are and all that kind of stuff. You know, all due diligence aside, but I just wanted to see if there was a break or any kind of history with the affiliate that we could lean on here.
my understanding is that the affiliate is still unlicensed. I will check just to make
Okay.
sure, but at the time that it was submitted, I believe I checked just to make sure, and they were still expired and on the roster.
Yeah, I think I was just wanted to see if they were affiliated someplace else, if they were that kind of thing.
It looks like they're still affiliated with the firm, and they've had an expired license since it's about 2021.
Okay, so no Trek One or anything like that? None of that, okay.
No, they're just still like on the list, even after getting this complaint, they still haven't been removed.
All right, so council's recommendation was to assess a civil penalty of $1,000 for employing an unlicensed individual. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept council's recommendation.
Yes, the license is a real estate firm, but the broker's responsible. We can.
I didn't complete my motion. Joe, so you go for it. No, I didn't complete it, so you can fix it.
Jeff, I've got a question too. When you're
Commissioner Gwynn, go ahead.
It was mentioned in here that it said based on the information provided on CORE. CORE is a what? Bookkeeping system that the y'all use to keep track of everything, or what? Is that correct?
A little funny to look around this desk. For those of us that are sitting here that are old school, this is what we read. I printed mine. I see Wyatt printed his.
Oh.
He printed his. Those young people didn't print theirs.
What young? What young people?
All right. So at Trek, we use CORE a lot for a lot of different things, right? So the CORE that you're speaking of stands for the Comprehensive Online Regulatory Enforcement. That's the program that we use to review and conduct transactions within TDCI's environment, which is the Department of Commerce and
But
Insurance.
you're responsible for CORE, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
to say, I mean, it almost sounded like reading this that CORE is this magic thing that based on information from CORE, this is the but it's really based on information that the Tennessee Real Estate Commission owns, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
What the appropriate thing that this broker could have done is broker release that agent prior to that person's license expiring or even after it expired, and
Right.
not have that person on their roster. But when we go for audit, we're like, who works in your firm? Let me see all the E&O insurance policies for everyone in your firm, and we compare the two. So if you give us an E&O insurance policy for a person in your firm and you say that this person is on your roster, we assume that this person was supposed to be on your roster and you're allowing them to have unlicensed activity because they didn't renew their license.
I got that. I'm just saying, I think making the point that CORE is a system.
Yes, it is
that
our
you
system.
Use, but the ultimate responsibility of inputting information in is not CORE.
The onus is on the licensee.
Right.
Because we also have a front-facing core, which I believe we call Reg Access for regulatory access, where licensees are able to transfer their licenses, they're able to retire their license, pay a fee. As many of you all know that were licensed in the early 2000s, late 90s, you actually had to mail something in, mail in a check. So what we're trying to do is make it easier that you can do it with some punches of some buttons
And that those punches of buttons
Mhm.
actually make entries into CORE.
They do, and they're time stamped. Yes.
Floor is open for a motion.
When I started,
It could be anything within our authority.
make a motion to accept council's recommendation on number.
Case number 189. Got a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation in case number 189, seconded by Commissioner Moffett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Any further legal report
Yes.
matters?
For the record, I do want to clarify that there is a typo on the agenda. I want the record to reflect that we just reviewed the consent agenda for April 2026, and not February. So we just reviewed the April consent agenda and not February. So we will make that clarification in the minutes, as well as on the agenda that was posted to reflect that it's April's consent agenda and not February's. We apologize for the typo.
All right. Commissioners, any new business? Any old business?
The next meeting will be held at the Davy Crockett Tower on June 10th, with maybe a hearing on June 11th.
Okay. All right, so hear that, Commissioners? Possible hearing June 11th. So, all right, without any further ado, any other?
I have one question. One of the regulatory boards that this group oversees, is that home inspectors and appraisers and licensees? Is that correct? Or
Does TREC regulate that?
no? The
You're calling out all my
The
programs.
property board, regulatory board,
Yes.
said board 5 times, regulates that, and those are one of Anna's programs. However, they don't fall under the purview of TREC.
Yes, but we regulate them.
I'm sorry.
Yes, those are 2 of my programs.
Thank you.
What about them?
Well, I had a phone call, and it was.
Does this need to be on the record?
It can be.
Okay.
I received a phone call, and this company was having a licensee agent who was also licensed as a home inspector, and they wanted to know if there was conflicts in that.
Oh, we have individuals that hold multiple licenses all the time.
Say that
So
one more
we
time.
have individuals that hold multiple licenses all the time.
Yeah.
So there's not a conflict for them to hold multiple licenses as long as they're practicing within the standards of practice for each of those. So
Okay.
none of them are waived, just because you're both. You just have to adhere to both of them. So if there is a violation of one, not the other, then you can of course file a complaint.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, anything else?
Thank
Hearing
you all
none.
for coming to East Tennessee this week. We appreciate everyone being here.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. We'll see you all in June. Thank you so much.
Thank you all who came today. We hope you learned something.